This is how you get it done. When it comes to the Nintendo Switch situation, Nintendo Switch 2, I should say more like it, with the physical carts, we know the problem that we're seeing. Game Pass basically making almost everybody on Xbox all digital. A lot of developers don't even make physical Xbox copies when it comes to certain games. PlayStation 6 looks like that is going to be an all digital console unless Sony decides to reverse course. And even if they do reverse course, we know what their ultimate plan is. No more PlayStation 5 physical games, new games released after January 2028. And we all know the PS5 is going to have a long cross-gen period. So you're looking at what's going on here with game key cards, the really last bastion of hope when it comes to physical games, and physical games that play off of the cart, is the Nintendo Switch 2. That is the system with the Nintendo Switch 1 that doesn't install, doesn't download things, obviously outside of game key cards, but the actual physical cart games. Switch 2 is the last system that does it. And we've got a new game. We've got more games that are coming physical on cart. But the big thing here, guys, is to make sure that we keep the pressure up. And I'm going to tell you exactly what we need to do in addition to getting into some cool Nintendo Switch 2 news. But before we continue, we are giving away a Nintendo Switch 2 at 140,000 subscribers or on September 1st, whichever comes first. Subscribe, like, comment. The winner will be chosen at random and it's a worldwide giveaway. Thanks, peeps. Okay, so Avatar Legends, the fighting game, is getting a real on-cart physical version for the Nintendo Switch 2 and the Nintendo Switch 1. No game key card. Keep voicing that opinion. Keep talking about what you want physical on cart. I talked about this on Twitter. I said that if we keep voicing our opinion, and if we keep putting the pressure on, and if we keep buying the Nintendo Switch 2 games physical on cart, they will keep coming. They will have no choice. There has been a lot of controversy, and maybe it's a super vocal minority. I don't think it is, but maybe it's a super vocal minority. But here's what I do know. On Nintendo platforms, it's not really a really vocal minority. It's a lot of people. It's like half, or it's like 40%. It's like a good amount of people that love themselves a good physical copy. Now, yes, game key cards kind of put a dent into some things, but the thing with game key cards is that they can be bought, sold, traded, all sorts of stuff. And unlike a lot of people putting out fake or false information on the internet, game key cards are not tied to an account and they're not tied to any one system. So I can take my game key card and I can let my friend borrow it and he can play the game after he's done downloading it. And it's not tied to the eShop. It's tied to just a server that's probably going to be up for a very long time, just like the servers are up for the Wii and like the 3DS. You can still go and re-download games that you purchased on there. So it's the same thing, but it's not tied to an account at all. It's just the cartridge itself. So anyway, at least we have that. But if we want the full on-cart games where we don't have to worry about that, we've got to support the games that are with the full on cart. Avatar, if you're into the franchise, it looks like this game is pretty good. I've seen a number of my mutuals on Twitter play the game. I've seen it myself. It looked kind of rough at first, but it's gotten better. It looks better and better. The Switch 2 version looks like it's going to be pretty good. And once again, full on cart physical. So if you're into fighting games, if you're into Avatar, definitely consider picking up this new Avatar Legends, the fighting game. And once again, like I stated here, the more we actually buy games that we're interested in that have a physical copy, the more we will receive. We know Nintendo is going to hold it down with their first party games. Pokemon Pocopia, not published by Nintendo worldwide, so you got that game key card situation publishing that game in Japan, but all of Nintendo's first party published games worldwide, you know that's going to be on a regular game card. So you don't have to worry about anything, all going to be on the card, already on or going to be on the card. So if we keep putting on the pressure, if we keep pre-ordering the games, if we keep getting and picking them up, even if you're picking up games that maybe came out last year that's full on card, like you see Cyberpunk 2077, you see games like Rune Factory, Guardians of Azuma, titles that came out full on cart before, those are all going to help and put into the whole big, I would say, pot of people that are voicing their opinion and picking up full on-cart games. We need Nintendo to know that we want this to continue. It's not just about the Switch 2 generation, because trust me, that's something, but it's going forward. It's going forward into the future. It's going forward into Switch 3, whatever else they decide to do. We can't have them fall into the same trap, into the same ploy that Sony has done when it comes to physical games. And I know I've talked about this quite a bit, but it's actually really important to me that we do get that, because I understand economics. I understand that having multiple storefronts where people can sell games makes it better for the consumer. This is something that's Econ 101. You start cutting down the competition when it comes to where you can buy games, you start getting less and less deals, and you start getting more predatory practices. And that's exactly what's going to happen if we don't actually support physical games and people decide to start going all digital. Those prices that you see when it comes to Nintendo Switch first party games not getting too many sales or barely getting any, it's going to be like that. Whereas if you go online, you can find Nintendo Switch 2 games and Switch 1 games, first party titles, well below MSRP all the time. It happens all the time. And if we had no physical games, we wouldn't be getting those deals. We would just have to go through the eShop. So nobody wants that. That's what we're dealing with here. That's what some of these people on PlayStation do not understand when they say that they don't care. You're going to get less deals. You're going to get less sales. It's not going to just be the same thing. They want full control. You can go there right now and look at a bunch of games that have way cheaper prices when it comes to PlayStation 5 titles physical than on PSN. Like, all the time. This happens regularly, and it's not going to change once they decide to get rid of physical. So we need to send the message clear to Nintendo that we continue to want full on-cart games, and we need to send the message to third-party developers that we want to continue to have full on-cart games. And this is a perfect time, and I'm going to probably make another video about this, so look out for that, for Nintendo to kind of strike and let them know the value of what they're offering with the Nintendo Switch 2. I think that Nintendo isn't really fazed by some of the other stuff that's happening in the industry, but at the same time, I think that they see it. They see some of that. So perfect time to strike. Put out the bangers, put out the great games, and let those games do the talking. We've got Splatoon Raiders coming up. That game looks awesome. Go put the demo if you can find it at like a Walmart or Best Buy or Target. It's really cool. And then we've got Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. We got Trails in the Sky. We've got Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. We've got Nintendo Switch Sports Resort. We've got other third-party games full on cart, like Lies of P, for example. That's going to be coming out, the complete edition. So I'll be picking that one up. So I feel more invigorated and I would say stronger than ever to actually support physical games down at this point, because we know what the industry is trying to do. We know what Game Pass is trying to do. We know what Sony's trying to do. We know even a little bit. Maybe you can look at Game Key Cards, even what that's trying to do. And Nintendo still has these full on-cart physicals, still has media that runs off of the cart too, where you don't have to install it. If you have the game full on cart, it's not a game key card. You don't have to install it. That to me is precious. It should be protected. It should be supported. And I hope that we get more stuff like Avatar, Legends, the fighting game, and we get more full on-cart physicals that are coming up, because more and more are getting announced each day. So what do you guys think about this? You can let me know in the comment section. You can also let me know about what is happening. Nintendo finally decides to add something to the NSO, not GameCube, so that's unfortunate, but we've got Game Boy. Nintendo Classics adds multiple different games here. So the Game Boy Nintendo Classics app has added The Sword of Hope, Fortified Zone, Wario Land, Super Mario Land 3, and the Game Boy Advance title Nintendo Classics app has added Dr. Mario and Puzzle League. Nintendo's announced. That's 2 games in 1, by the way. You guys are going to be seeing all the games here kind of just laid out. So the Game Boy Nintendo Classics app is available for the Nintendo Switch Online members, while the Game Boy Advance Nintendo Classics app is available for Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack members. So keep that in mind, guys. If you want the GameCube and if you want the Game Boy Advance stuff, you have to have the expansion pack. That's the more expensive one. Right now, it's $50 a year here in the US. Might be different in different countries, and I know that it got a price increase in Japan, but I don't know the conversion of that. But it's still pretty cool. For that $20 a year, which is pretty cheap when you look at it per month, you can still get the Game Boy games. You can still get the Super Nintendo games. You still get quite a bit, even for that $20 a month. But if you do the 50, the Game Boy Advance stuff is pretty sweet. And the cool thing about the NSO app, which I think makes it probably a little bit better for me at least, is that I'm not big on replaying all the different classics, but what I do like is the online play added in there. If you have friends that play, you can go into like essentially like a tricking of the system into thinking that it's local play, but it's online and you can play online with your friends. Now, no matchmaking, but they're still pretty cool. Any game that has multiplayer, it can be online with your friends if you guys go into a room. So that to me is kind of worth it, along with the amount of games that are on the app at this point. So while they're not adding GameCube games as fast as I would like, or adding as many Game Boy Advance games as I would like, if you look at the full content, full breadth of content that they do have, it's actually pretty impressive. And it's so impressive to the point to where now the Nintendo Switch Online actually has more members than the Xbox Game Pass, which is crazy to me. I would have never thought that a services company like Microsoft with Game Pass and what they offer would be below what NSO has, especially considering what people were saying about NSO at the beginning. They were calling it just like a scam from the very beginning, especially Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack. They did not let that mature at all. Now it's got a lot more games, so people are a bit more positive about it, and they're just continuing to add and add to it. Love to see them add a bit faster, but hey, look, it's not terrible when it comes to everything that you can get on there. I personally want to check out the Dr. Mario and Puzzle League. I think that looks really cool. I love Game Boy Advance games. They look so vibrant and nice, and the audio and everything's cool. I just like Game Boy Advance. It's one of the systems that I played the games, but I didn't get a chance to play a lot of the games. I had no money. I had a Game Boy Advance back in the day, but I had no money to buy the games. So anytime that something comes to Game Boy Advance online, I check it out. So I'm definitely going to check out this. A lot of the Game Boy games, I also had no money to play the Game Boy games either. So I don't know if I'm going to check these games out, though. They look kind of crusty, but I know that they're good. People really excited about Wario Land. That's a fun game. So maybe I'll check that game out. But yeah, either way, man, good stuff that they're adding more and more to the app. So that's what I like to see. And speaking of that, it's not just classic games. We got big AAA titles because it looks like Crimson Desert. They're still working on that to get it on the Nintendo Switch too. So thanks to Pearl Abyss CEO Hun Jin-young, we have an update on what's happening with the potential of a Nintendo Switch 2 version of Crimson Desert. Now, this is the second time that they've talked about this, so this is not a new revelation with Crimson Desert on the Nintendo Switch 2. Back in March, we heard that the company has started some R&D, research and development, on what they can do to get the game over. But in the most recent corporate briefing, one investor specifically asked about the Nintendo Switch 2 again, and Jin-young actually talked about it a bit more. So here's what he had to say with his full response. Quote, "We believe it is important to showcase Crimson Desert on as many platforms as possible. We are reviewing the Nintendo Switch 2, and it is currently being developed to a level where basic gameplay is possible. However, platform expansion is not just a simple port. The key is whether we can fully maintain the graphics, action, and open world experience of Crimson Desert on that device. The Nintendo Switch 2 version still requires optimization and technical verification, and we must also review partner collaboration and whether it meets our quality standards. Therefore, it is difficult to confirm a release schedule. We will announce it transparently once there is confirmed information." So they're still testing things out. Yes, they can play it, but is it running like at 15 frames per second? Is it laggy? Crimson Desert is notoriously beefy when it comes to what it demands from the game, like the PC and all that type of stuff. Like, it's kind of crazy what this game does. It is a massive game, and it's a very complex game. It runs on a custom engine that they have that was built for like MMOs, and they converted it to a single player action adventure game with some light RPG stuff. So it's a wild game just to look at it. Super successful. I think over 6 million units plus sold, and it's still going. We still don't have like the definitive editions and all of that. So I do think that this game has a long life ahead of it. It's got a ton of achievements or trophies and things to do in the game. Like, it's crazy. Like, you have to spend like 300 hours plus in this game. So there's a lot of game to test. There's a lot of game to port over, and they need to make sure if they are going to release it on the Nintendo Switch 2 that everything is good. You can't release a really bad version of the game. You got to get things running at least at a somewhat stable 30 FPS. You do have DLSS, you do have other factors, and I do think eventually they will get this game up and running on the Nintendo Switch 2 and have a decent enough version of the game out. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not going to look like the PlayStation 5 version or the Xbox Series X version. I think it's going to be more in the line with the Xbox Series S version type of release, which once again has varying levels of quality in terms of what you think, like if you see the game. But I do think that it's a game that I think some people would probably want to be able to play. But I think the hardest thing with a game like this is getting it to play, I would say, good in portable mode. Like, docked mode is one thing. Docked Switch 2 is definitely stronger. It's better. Unlock some more stuff. But portable mode, that makes things a lot more tricky because you do have to run off the battery. It is downclocked a bit. You don't have as much access to the resources. Like, there's less when it comes to portable mode. It is a true hybrid, so I think that they're really testing out how that works too, because you have to make things work not only in dark mode, but also in portable mode, which adds another layer of complexity that the other versions do not have. So I do think that that is something that they are working hard on to make sure that everything is running good. And that's something that we heard about even from Square Enix when it comes to Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth and some of the different games, like getting the pipelines built out for it to run smoothly enough in portable mode and in docked mode. So I think they're working on that, and hopefully they get everything settled there. So what do you think about everything that we talked about here? A lot of content. Let me know in the comment section below. All right, peeps, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you for the next one. Peace.